This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
All right, it is Monday, September 27th, week 4 in the NFL. Do you know what that means, Matt?
What does that mean, Gerry Callahan?
That means Tom Brady's coming to town. Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick. It is Brady week. Happy Brady week.
Happy Brady week.
And it is one of those weeks, believe it or not, where I'm glad I'm not on sports talk radio because it's make pretend week. And I'll give you a couple examples.
Yeah.
Toucher and Rich, the number 1 rated morning show, which is putting up like huge numbers. I haven't listened lately, but they just tweeted out they have a contest this week. They want you to prove to them that you're, quote, New England's number 1 Brady hater. You have to submit videos, a minute-long video proving or making your case that you're the biggest Brady hater, which why would someone why do you hate Brady? I mean, I understand if you're a Jets fan or Bills fan, whatever, but I mean, Tom Brady, a New England Patriot fan, hates.
Yeah, he was here for 20 years, got you a bunch of Super Bowls. Come on.
Sure. Yeah, like 6. I mean, he went to 9 Super Bowls. He was, the greatest NFL player ever, the greatest New England.
Never got in trouble.
Patriot ever, the greatest New England athlete ever. Right, stayed out of trouble. And one remarkable thing, I always mentioned this over the years, was he played literally with thousands of teammates, Patriot teammates, and coaches.
Yeah.
Not one has ever badmouthed him. Not one.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. You think of superstars, even off the record, you don't hear them bad-mouthing and ripping him, saying
crazy ones like Ocho Cinco or AB or
right, exactly. Or coaches. And by the way,
true,
he was kind of a diva. He had his own, I don't know if you're aware of this, his own masseuse came with him. They had a suite in Foxborough. We could go up and get
I saw the videos.
Yeah. So he was kind of an oddball in many ways, as we know, about his diet and everything. And he still didn't draw the ire of a single teammate in 20 years, which is remarkable. I mean, he was never really, snippy, nasty to us on the radio or to the media in general. He was always polite. He was never rude to like producers or call screeners.
He didn't play diva like some of the other people you covered.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I've interviewed 1 million Red Sox, and probably half of them were dinks, especially in the old days where it was kind of a organizational thing. If you were a Red Sox player, you had to be like Jim Rice. You had to be an asshole. It was just the way it was. And Brady never kind of reached that point where he was blaming other people and biting people's faces off, even when, had that rare downtime or rare bad season or big loss or, Super Bowl loss. He was always, he always showed up on Monday morning.
He could have killed Welker after that Super Bowl, and he never did.
Could have done it like off the record. I don't think he ever did anything. I mean, I had a couple of conversations with him off the record, but it wasn't about, bad-mouthing teammates. Hell, the first time, I don't know if I've ever even told this. The first time was an email exchange after he broke up with Bridget Moynihan, who was pregnant, and he was getting ripped for, dumping his pregnant girlfriend. And he explained to me that, it wasn't, that's not how it was. He didn't even know she was pregnant, and they broke up. And what was he supposed to do? Like go back to her? They break up. Then she tells him she's pregnant. Was he supposed to go back to her? He already moved on. And I think everybody involved has moved on and lived happily ever after.
Yeah, it seems to be that they're fine with each other.
Yeah. And
I don't think she really badmouthed him after that either.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. His former girlfriend, the mother of his first child, Jack. I think they get along great, as far as I know, as far as I can tell, which is good. But I don't think there's a lot of real Brady hatred out there. But this is, like I said, make pretend week. That's on 98.5, where people, why don't we monitor that? I'd like to hear who the winner's going to be. A 1-minute video on why you hate Tom Brady. I mean, other than being jealous because he went somewhere else and won a Super Bowl, or jealous because, your wife is ugly and his isn't, or whatever, or you lost all your hair and he didn't. I understand that. I understand, jealousy is a factor, but I can't imagine he's not going to get a resounding ovation when he takes the field. I don't think some people probably root for him to win, but most people root for the Patriots, but they won't be hoping, Brady, breaks a leg, anything. I don't think, unless I misread the situation. But on the other station, on the I think it's a 12th place station. That's the first place station has how much do you hate Tom Brady contest, which is absurd. But the other station is where they have Patriot Monday. And we used to have Brady on. Now the morning show has Belichick, which is a terrible trade. Even if you're a Belichick guy, he's awful.
If you think Tom Brady doesn't say anything,
Brady said as much as a Patriot could say.
Yeah.
It's like I guarantee, at least before the last year or two, when he kind of shut down because of Trump. But I guarantee there were times when Belichick was like, "Can't you just say can't you be as rude to them as I am? Can't you treat them the way I do?" Belichick treats the media in general and that radio station in particular, like they are like
an antagonist,
like
basically.
dog crap on his shoe. That's the way he looks at them. He doesn't look at them as human beings. He looks at them as just an annoying, fly buzzing around his head. And for some reason, the morning show switched from the quarterback, because they figured Mac Jones was a rookie and not going to say much, but still he's more interesting than the coach. But I will say this, and I know we have some sound from this, and Belichick, I don't want to say he's lying, but he's lying. He's lying.
You think he's lying about this?
Well, I guess I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked me if I listened. I said no, but you have some cuts.
I do. Yeah.
I will listen, but I'm just going to make it simple for everybody who's going to pretend like this was Brady's decision to leave. This was orchestrated by Bill Belichick, and everyone knows why. He has always got rid of players a year early rather than a year late. He's always got rid of star players. Now, granted, no one is as big a star as Tom Brady, but the list is long of people he's gotten rid of rather than commit to them and from sentimental reasons or emotional. He has no problem cutting ties, cutting star players or iconic players. He's done it 100 times. And in this case, Brady left as a free agent. You know why?
Tell us.
Because they gave him his free agency. They just handed him his free agency. If you think about it, they could have kept him. They could have franchised him. They could have signed him, overwhelmed him, money whipped him, whatever. I don't think he was determined to leave the entire time, but they could have kept him. They chose not to. And it's a simple reason why. Belichick knew he wanted to move on. He thought Brady had reached the end of the road, and why not? I mean, he's a pretty, cold, calculating guy, and he looked at the actuarials and said he doesn't have that much left.
Well, there's nothing. This has never happened before. Right. This is unprecedented.
He's a freak, and Belichick knew he was a freak, but didn't think he was that much of a freak.
No,
he was going to go somewhere else in year one and win a Super Bowl. I mean, nobody really did, to be honest with you. They thought, he might have a year or two left, but they thought he was going to get old on Tampa Bay's dime, and he will. He'll get old next year after, whenever. He says he might play till he's 50. Maybe. I'm done doubting him. Although he lost yesterday, I'm going to pick him this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got
if you watch the two games, the Patriots game and the Tampa LA game, Brady threw for 430 yards. I mean, he looked good on the road against a good team. Now he's on the road, a team that the Patriots have lost both their home games, and they don't look good. They are not a good team right now. But think of what Belichick did. He got rid of Tom Brady without having to cut him or trade him. Now, if he had cut him or traded him, like, he did with Gronk, by the way, but Gronk probably wasn't going to play here, but he traded him. Anyway, if he'd cut Tom Brady, even if you're Bill Belichick with six rings, even if you're the greatest coach ever, and he is, that's kind of something that's going to leave a mark. If you cut him and he goes to Tampa and wins a Super Bowl, man, there's blowback on Belichick.
There is.
Granted, he's not like most people. He doesn't care about perception or PR or all that, but he still, every man has his limitations, and he did not want to be the man who cut Tom Brady. He did not want to be the man who traded Tom Brady. So they gave him his free agency, and Kraft could dress it up as doing something, repaying a guy who'd been so great for 20 years, who delivered 6 Super Bowl rings and did all that he did. So it seems like the decent thing to do. And Kraft, could say, yeah, we owed it to him. Belichick doesn't care about the decent thing or what he owed. He wanted to move on, whether it was move on to Cam Newton or move on to Mac Jones or move on. He just didn't want to.
We wanted to move years before with Garoppolo.
That's true. And Garoppolo was probably one of the options. He still might be, because they have Trey Lance backing him up. And last night was kind of the theme of that game, is when Lance going to take over. How much longer is Garoppolo the guy? They lost. It was a terrific game. Aaron Rodgers brought him back in the final 30 seconds. They got the field goal. They got the win. But they kept putting the camera on Trey Lance. He came into the game, I think, a couple times. And the big question for I forget who the hell did the game. Was it Troy? I forget. Anyway, the announcers were talking about Trey Lance, and they're going to move on to him. Patriots have moved on to Mac Jones. And Belichick can go on the radio or go in front of the media, which he'll do later in the morning, which kind of ruins the whole point of having an exclusive interview.
It does.
Like with Brady, we'd have him on Monday, and he wouldn't be available to the media till Wednesday, I believe. So it was.
You have a couple days.
It was a good get.
Yeah,
this is not. Again, it's another brilliant investment by WEEI. They pay a guy millions, and an hour after he talks exclusively to them, he's talking to everybody and saying the same thing. Anyway,
wait. So what they? For a year? How much would they pay?
I don't know the total, but it's more. It's like a 5-year deal. It's in the millions for sure. And
wow.
Brady made it worth it. It was a great idea. One of my former bosses, Jason Wolf, put it together. And at the time, you're thinking all you get is an interview with the quarterback and the coach. But it became a pretty big deal when the Patriots became a big deal. And Brady on Monday morning, I think for a long while, was appointment listening.
Yeah.
Belichick is appointment listening because he's just so difficult and disciplined. He never lets his guard down. He never plays along. I mean, I know my old friend Glenn Ordway used to say that, you got to listen between the lines.
Yeah.
Belichick tells us things. I guess once in a while he'd joke around with the former player, Fourier's there now. Before that, Fred Smirla, Steve Diossi. He does prefer to have guys like that around. And he does occasionally sound like a human being, but for the most part, especially after he loses, you don't get a lot of yucks. But he will stand before the cameras today and say it was Tom's decision. So I guess he's not lying. It was Tom's decision to leave because he picked Tampa. But coach, why did you give him his free agency? That's the question. Did you listen to this interview this morning? Did they get to that?
No, they didn't ask that, but I did think that we got a little bit more from Belichick than we normally do. I know the bar is really low, but Chris Curtis asked the best question of that entire half hour.
Well, he should. He's the host, the main host. Yes. This is the Chris Curtis show on WEEI, a show I used to be a part of. It used to be the Chris Curtis show with Jerry and Kirk. That was the title. Now it's just the Chris Curtis show because he's the big star. I would say the most underpaid morning host in America.
Oh, yeah.
They pay him like a producer, Yeah. And he's a host. This is weird how that works. But Curtis asked you what you call, and you're pretty cynical. You don't have a lot of love for EEI.
Well, I'm not saying this is like groundbreaking stuff, but everything else was just nothing. But this was the only one that stood out.
Right, let's listen to Chris Curtis's exchange with the coach this morning.
Bill, over the course of you and Tom's time together, you said dozens of times that there was no quarterback you would rather have. When did that change?
No, it never changed.
So you wanted Tom to re-sign here after the 2019 season?
Yeah, well, I think we've been through all the dynamics of that. There were a lot of things there that, he looked at his options and made his decision. We weren't as good an option as Tampa. So, I mean, you'd have to ask him about all that, but it wasn't a question of not wanting him.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't a question. But he answered it.
Give Curtis credit for that follow-up. I mean, the question, I knew it would say the question had never changed, but the follow-up is good. Brady had options. He chose a better option. The next follow-up, and I assume it wasn't, why did you give him options? Why did you give him options? And the truth is, it was Bill being Bill. This is what he does. He lets guys go. He makes unemotional, cold-blooded decisions. It has worked for him. It has made him the greatest coach ever. He's won 6 Super Bowls here. He's still around. I mean, they're not going to win much this year, but he knew at some point he had to move on from the old guy, and this was the way to do it. I don't know why we can't all agree that Belichick wanted to move on, and he made it happen in a way where he didn't have to cut or trade him. I mean, it's not that complicated as far as I can tell. But Belichick, it's going to look bad because I'm going to predict right now Belichick's going to lose to Brady this week. I think Tampa Bay is on another level. They're loaded. The defense isn't loaded like their offense, and Brady, a motivated Brady, a Brady under pressure is the best Brady, as we've learned over the years. He is relishing this opportunity. I think on Wednesday he'll speak to the media and he'll, smile and giggle, but he is going to come in here determined, to destroy his former team, his former coach, and they'll shake hands. I think, well, maybe Belichick won't shake hands after the game, but Brady will say all the right things, do all the right things. And the team he's playing, again, the team that's 0-2 at home right now, stinks. Right now, stinks.
That was a bad loss yesterday.
And they'll probably get better. Belichick's teams often do, and they'll probably be much better in December. And I think here's the other thing that I'm glad I don't have to do today is, I guess they're not actually doing it on the morning show on EEI. They're not taking calls today.
I think they've got some plants.
I'm glad I don't have to take calls, because here's what happens. It used to happen with hosts too. My old partner Dino was notorious for this. Everything is about the quarterback, right? That's how, I don't want to say 75% of fans watch games. It's quarterback, they win, quarterback was good. If they lose, quarterback sucks.
Yeah.
And I know the last pick, Mac Jones, the rookie, threw 3 picks, and the last one was terrible, but the first 2 were not his fault. And he was getting crushed on the first one that was, floated. I mean, he got hit, just floated up in the air, got picked off. The second one was off the hands of the Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, not his fault. Not his fault.
And who I was watching, because 2 new tight ends were supposed to be such a gift for a young quarterback.
Yeah.
And this Smith, this tight end stinks. I mean, he can't block, he can't catch. Other than that, he's wonderful.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he just had a bad day, but that is no Rob Gronkowski.
No.
That is no Travis Kelce. I hope he gets better for Mac Jones' sake. But he hit him on the hands. He popped it up in the air, and Malcolm Jenkins returns it for a touchdown. Not his fault. He was under pressure. He was getting hit. He was getting.
It was worse in the first half. The O-line was terrible in the first half,
yes.
but they got better in the second half. And then I don't know. They just weren't making the right connections.
But here's what everyone, if they get, well, actually, it'll probably start at 10 o'clock. I don't know if all the the Minifans are going to be harassing EEI all day. But this morning.
Yeah, see this from EEI is talking back again. We're not playing around today. Stricter than usual. Don't care if you don't like it. They're trying to.
What is that?
So there's some chats because they go live like we do. And they're like kicking out commenters, people. They're anybody who's hasn't been logged in, I think on Twitch for the last 7 days. If they haven't been like on a part of the show or on the show's chat for the last 7 days, they're automatically getting kicked. So anybody
can't
new
be on there?
No. And if you listen to the calls this morning,
it's Brady week. They better hope there's
no,
new
they
people.
don't want that. They don't want anything new. And on the radio today too, when they were taking calls, they were definitely plants. One guy they let go for 3 minutes. It sucked. It's because they knew that this guy wouldn't give them any trouble.
Did he just say, "I hate Tom Brady"? Go Pats.
No, it wasn't that. It was just he was talking about the game, but he just went on and on. I don't like callers on sports radio anyway. They're usually dumb, but it was that same didn't say anything caller.
I guarantee you half the calls will say, Mac Jones had a terrible day. It wasn't Mac Jones's fault. He'll be good. I still think he'll be good. I still think he's much better than Cam Newton, but he took a beating yesterday. The first two picks were not his fault. He did, obviously when you get down, you drop back every down, and the pressure was on, and they came after him and they knocked him around. But the Patriots are 1-2. They're 1 win was against the Jets,
Yeah.
which deserves an asterisk. The Jets got shut out yesterday. The Jets are awful. They do have one more game against them, but they're 5.5. I just checked the line, and the Patriots are 5.5-point underdogs. I'm surprised. I guess that's Foxborough. That's the Belichick factor. I would have had it closer to 8.5.
Yeah.
9. Brady has 10 touchdown passes so far this season, which is it's more than Cam Newton. Cam Newton had 8 last year, the entire season, which is kind of comical. Brady does he lead the league in yards? I'm just going to check his statistics after 3 weeks, and he's second. Derek Carr is throwing for 400 yards a game.
Oh, wow.
Far and away the best in the league. Brady's throwing for 362. He's got a 109 rating. He's off to a damn good start, even though they lost that game last night. The Patriots have lost to Tua, who stinks in Miami. He's hurt now, and he'll probably be good someday, but he was not good in that game, has not been good so far. And to Jameis Winston, who stinks. Those are the 2 L's the Patriots have taken at home. They're facing their first good quarterback of the season this week on Brady week. Yesterday, though, did you watch the game?
No, I only caught the highlights. I told you I was at a Black Lives Matter rally yesterday. Don't you remember me saying that? I told you before that.
Why did you tell me that?
No, it was just this. It was like a I don't know. They set up a bunch of booths and there was a bunch of food. It was this whole celebration thing on
a celebration of Black Lives Matter.
No, it wasn't that. It was like a cultural celebration, but they were part of it. But I dropped it on Friday and we talked about it.
Cultural celebration.
So there's like a lot of food and all sorts of stuff in Portsmouth. I told you that on Friday.
Okay, you didn't. You're imagining things.
No, I told you that on Friday. You just maybe you didn't
tell me that on Friday.
I did, of course.
No,
I did.
No, you did not. If you told me you went to a
tape.
Black Lives Matter thing, you think I would have remembered?
I said that they were going to be there. They were only one of the the booths.
You're mixing me up with your Quantum Week buddy.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
We can check. I have the vault. I actually have it on audio.
Check that.
I'm 100% positive.
So what was the celebration of? Like, what was the big theme?
No, it was bringing a bunch of cultures together. So that was the theme of the event.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Friends invited my wife and I.
Cultures together.
Yes.
So
there was food from there was also Asian food and
what kind of food?
Soul food and all sorts of stuff.
Did you eat some soul food? Is that what you had?
No, I had some Thai food, some Japanese food, all sorts of stuff. There was tons of booths there, but they were one of the.
Was it a good time?
It was low key actually. I was expecting a lot more people there.
Was there music? Was there paint?
There was a mariachi band, which was awesome.
Were there balloons?
I didn't see
face
balloons.
painting.
There was no face painting. There was mariachi band.
What kind of celebration can it be without me face painting? Doesn't seem like.
Wow.
Was it booze, beer?
I don't know if there was
weed,
alcohol. I don't know. I mean, maybe people were smoking. I didn't smoke any weed.
You know what weed smells like?
Of course, I know what weed smells. I didn't smell like any there. What? I didn't smell any there.
Everyone smokes.
It was outside.
When I walk around Boston or jog or whatever, or walk the dog, everyone smokes.
Hey man, it's tough to get through these times right now. So no, I didn't catch the game. I had to watch the stuff.
It was as bad a Patriots game as I can remember, and it's not because of Mac Jones. Again, the callers are going to all say Mac Jones should have kept Cam Newton.
There were Matt Carano definitely mentioned that on Friday. Matt did. Ho ho ho!
You mentioned
memory
on our
slipping.
locals. Oh, no question. On our locals.com
yes.
show.
Yeah, we talked about it on Friday.
We didn't talk about it. Even if you mentioned it, I didn't hear it. I didn't react. If you said you were going to something, now if it was just some,
it was at this police station.
So
I threw some Molotov cocktails. It was great.
It
was just a cultural event in downtown Portsmouth.
Cultural event. That sounds awful.
Yeah. Oh. Well, that's why I didn't invite you.
Well, you didn't spend your day productively like I did. Spend 6 hours
watching audio for you.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
All right.
I spent 6 hours watching a golf tournament that was essentially already over, and 3 hours watching the worst Patriots game I've ever seen, and about 2 hours watching a really good game involving the former Patriot quarterback who Bill Belichick let leave for nothing. All right, someone's got to bring that up. Probably Wednesday, someone will do it. But the Patriots had, I don't even know where to begin, a bunch of penalties. They had a blocked kick, a blocked punt, which I don't remember the last time I've seen that. They had a kickoff go out of bounds. They had offsides on 4th and 1. They just had all kinds of dumb mistakes that you never see. This is not a good team. It's not a well-coached team right now. And I know Belichick is just a work in progress, and they'll get better and all that. But the Buffalo Bills, I think, clinched the division yesterday. So the Patriots are playing for a wild card now. They're a long shot to even, at this point, I'd be surprised if they go 500.
They clinched the division yesterday?
Just kidding.
Okay,
Just
thank
kidding.
you. Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
really
Sorry.
good. God. You are hopeless.
I'm not used to your jokey delivery yet.
But that's, I mean, they're going to.
Are they 4-0?
They are. I'm going to check the NFL power rankings, like Peter King's power rankings, because I don't know if they number. Like,
You do that. Can I play Wiggy? Wiggy is the worst.
I hate to pick on Wiggy though.
I know he's so nice,
guy.
but this is like 25. So here it is.
The Bills, I'm sorry, are 2-1. The Patriots are 1-2.
Oh, come on.
4 points, giving up 44.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good for a team. I guess they lost opening day, but they've won the last 2 in routes, and they are much, much better, head and shoulders above the Patriots, which is amazing because the Patriots have kind of owned that division. I don't know if you're aware of that, Corona, but
Yeah.
all right, let's listen to more with Bill Belichick this morning with my man Wiggy, who's a former player, a former Patriot, and they often think that Belichick will treat them as humans. Not after a loss. He'll do it maybe after a win, but not after the worst game the Patriots have played in the Belichick era.
Bill, when you look at your quarterback situation right now with Mac Jones, one thing I noticed, it seems like he takes these losses very tough, which a lot of players do after yesterday's game. What's kind of the message that you give to him about trying not to dwell on, say, some of the things that you didn't do as well, just learn from them and move forward with him being a young player?
Well, I think, Wiggy knows as well as I do that's it's part of football.
That's a 25-second question. That's all he does.
Was that the whole answer?
He goes on just a tiny bit more, but that was the best part. But every single question is 25 seconds long from Wiggy, and he answers the question. All you have is like a yes or no at the end of it. It's a complete waste of a question.
It's always a waste of time. And I love people who think Belichick's good. People listen because he's so bad. People listen to see just how much he will piss in the face of the media, whether it's hosts on EEI or the media on Wednesday. I mean, he's never on Friday. He'll talk about the other day. He had a 9-minute answer to a question about long snappers, and all the football guys, it was amazing, and all the announcers, it was amazing. He does that. It's another way to dump on the media, because if he answers a 9-minute question about long snapping, you got the reporters have all these questions, these relevant questions, written down. They're ready to go. But by the time he's done answering the long snapping question, the press conference is over. That's why he filibusters.
Right.
And I'm not complaining. It works for him. His style works. The fans love it. He doesn't give them anything, but that's okay. He coaches really, really well. I mean, he's a great coach. He just doesn't play along with the media, especially after he loses. And if they go 7-9 or 6-10, it's going to be a miserable season for WEEI, because they're counting on the coach and the quarterback to at least win them the day. That's the way we used to look at it. Give a good Brady interview, you're going to win that day. You maybe win that week because you milked the hell out of it. But Brady again was at least a human being with us. He was at least somewhat. He played along, somewhat cordial, somewhat playful at times, and he usually won. So there wasn't a lot of those long, difficult interviews with a guy who's just trying to get through it because he lost the game.
Well, and Greg was so defeated when Belichick came on the line too. He's like, "Hey, good morning, Bill. I know you're as happy to be here as we are to have you."
They had the same energy. Hill and Belichick, Hill and Bill. They should call it the Hill and Bill show with zero energy. But this is their week. This is the week they've been living for since the schedule came out. I forget when that is, in March. And they've been promoting it and living for it. And I don't think it could set up much worse. I guess Brady could have won yesterday and be undefeated, but I don't think it sets up much worse. If you saw last night or yesterday afternoon, they're just a better team. They're just a much, much deeper team. They got a better quarterback. They got better, receivers. They got better running backs, even though Giovanni Bernard might be out, might be hurt. James White's hurt.
Yeah.
And there's who the hell was it? Troy Aikman? I think it was Troy Aikman said that Giovanni Bernard, from former Bengal, was supposed to be the James White of this team, of this Tampa team. He looks like he's out, but Brady's out. And I'm not sure how that's going to work with Brady haters. Brady haters? Again, I guess you got to give reasons why you hate him. You're going to hate the greatest player in New England history, the greatest winner in NFL history, a guy, as you point out, who's never gotten in trouble, never smacked his wife or driven drunk or flunked a drug test. I mean, we're not talking about a cheater like David Ortiz. We're not talking about, a guy. I mean, who else would be among the greatest?
Like Barry Bonds.
Right, Barry Bonds. All right, one of the greatest. You're not talking about a guy with with all kinds of asterisks over his career, a guy who just always did things right. And he's not going to say anything derogatory either. I mean, he's going to talk to, maybe this week they'll ask him if he's vaccinated.
Maybe.
The Tampa media still haven't.
Well, do you know anybody who will be in front of him this week?
That's a good question. I should reach out to our Tampa guy. Say, you can ask. They'll ask about Belichick, and Brady will say, it was great. He was the greatest coach. There's no one else I want to coach with. But I guess some in the media blame him for letting his father and his trainer, his buddy Alex Guerrero, do the talking for him. Alex Guerrero did an interview with Karen Guregian at the Herald and talked about how Belichick continued to treat Brady like he was 24, even when he was 44 or whatever, 42, 43, and didn't have special rules for him, which is what Brady wanted and feels like he earned. So there is some bad blood. There's no question about that, but Brady's not going to articulate it for you, I don't think, at least not on the record on Wednesday in front of the assembled media. He's not going to want the distraction. He's never wanted to be, in some kind of feud or some kind of fight. He will avoid that, I think, this week, and he'll just go out and take care of business. And I'm taking the Bucks and the points. And if I were a gambler, I'd do it today because that number is going to go up 5.5. If you watch that, I mean, you didn't watch it. Watch that Patriots game. You are just very, very surprised how screwed up they are, how many mistakes they made. It's not a good team. Not a good team.
Want to talk about DCU before we move to the next thing?
Well, yeah, let's do DCU. I'm going to mention the Ryder Cup, even though you didn't watch that either.
I watched the highlights, but I know it was over before Sunday started, wasn't it?
Yep. And we'll get to. I have to finish. If you listen to our locals show on Friday for subscribers only, and if you didn't, you can subscribe now at locals.com. Friday's show, we did questions, from
the chat. Yeah.
Chatted. We talked about a few different things, but then the news broke while we were sitting here that Biden was lying about the Border Patrol cops on horseback, lying about them and promising to make them pay. It was, as I often point out, a new low, another new low for the Biden administration. Even by their lowest standards, this was disgusting. I just saw it just before we wrapped up our Friday show, so we're going to revisit that because it is truly despicable what Joe Biden did on Friday and continues to do. And Mayorkas, we got a new designated liar for the Biden regime, and it's this Mayorkas dirtbag. And we'll play some of his sound from yesterday, and we'll get to a few other things, but. First, let me tell you about DCU. DCU is a proud sponsor of the Callahan Show, as usual. Why do DCU members love their free checking accounts? It's simple. No monthly maintenance fees, no minimum balance, no strings attached. What's better is with direct deposit to their free checking account, DCU members can get paid up to 2 days early. And who doesn't love getting paid early? 0 monthly maintenance fees, 0 monthly balance, 0 reasons not to switch. They will even remove the hassle of switching your direct deposits and automatic payments from your current checking account. Learn more and make the switch today at dcu.org/free checking, insured by NCUA, membership required. Quickly, I know the Ryder Cup wasn't, I know I built it up, but here's the problem. It's still a great event. It's still an amazing event. The course was amazing. It was a great setting, and just a lot of American fans, not a lot of European fans. Americans are just too good. Just too good. And I'm sorry, it's going to be in Europe in 2 years, and they'll win again. They're young and they're good, and they were just a juggernaut. I think they had the top-rated player in the world is John Rahm. He's with Europe. He's from Spain. The next, I think, 2 through 9 or 2 through 10 were all Americans. It's the youngest American team ever. They just have a bunch of young studs like Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele, and they were a buzzsaw. And the course was so hard and so long, and they don't care. These are just cocky young guys who can bash in a mile, and they could putt. And this format, this team thing, brings out the best in a lot of guys. It brings out the emotion. After they lost, Rory McIlroy was a puddle. He was crying. Ian Poulter was crying. Steve Stricker, the American captain, was crying. Hey, they don't need Mickelson was an assistant, a vice captain, but they don't need Mickelson and Tiger. It's time to move on, and they got plenty to move on to. I watched it. I mean, Saturday, I guess it was decided. So I was watching Saturday knowing that the Americans were going to run away with it, and they did. It was too bad they didn't have more European fans because of COVID, and so they didn't have a lot of noise when the Europeans would like win a hole. But it was just totally, totally dominant. They set the record for points. I think they had 19. The record was 18 and a half. And they could do this again and again. They could play this tournament 100 times. The Americans would win like 99. They're just too damn good. And it's just some weird about the team thing. It brings out the best in a lot of guys. The winners, I would say Bryson DeChambeau was very emotional. He was very likable. The highlight of the whole tournament was he drove the green on the first hole yesterday, and the place went nuts, and he just went from there. He beat Sergio, who's a great Ryder Cupper, the greatest European Ryder Cupper ever. He beat him. I would say Justin Thomas, and I forget who drank a beer. Someone threw a full beer, and he picked it up and opened it and drank it like in the middle of the tournament, which was, I guess you don't see that a lot in football or baseball or basketball, but that was fun and funny. And there was a million highlights because the Americans are so good. They're just like eagling hills left and right. And the Europeans had a lot of, they have a lot of personality. This fat Irishman, his name Shane Lowry, was a lot of fun, but they have no chance. The event is still great, but it's not as great as it used to be because the Americans are too damn good. But and Brooks Koepka is a dick. I spent 3 days. I kind of rooted for the Americans because there's a lot of likable guys. But I rooted for a close tournament. Didn't happen, and I rooted against Brooks Koepka. All the other guys embraced it and waved and smiled and just got into it. He just like rolls his eyes at everything. He's just such a dink. I'm a Bryson DeChambeau guy in his little feud with Koepka, who allegedly said he wanted to play with Bryson DeChambeau, but I don't believe that. He hates him. Just looking quickly, Colin Morikawa, 8 birdies. It's the hardest course in the world. 8 birdies on a Sunday with all the pressure on you. Same with Dustin Johnson. 8 birdies out of 18 holes on a course that, it couldn't be any harder. The greens were tough. There's traps everywhere, long and hills and ocean and crowd and wind. 8 birdies each. Just remarkable players. But anyway, let's move on to that's our golf minute. If you want to, if you have anything to add, you can.
I don't. Was it the 6th hole actually that there's a bunker on the left hand side of the green, and they kept hitting the topography of the fairway, and it would shoot it right to the right on the green? I saw a few of the players hit that shot, and I was like, holy shit. I guess
the highlight would have been on Saturday. Jordan Spieth hit one straight up, 75 feet up in the air. It was like on a hill. Everything was on hill. And the only way to get on the green was hit it straight up in the air. He hit it 75 feet straight up in the air, landed on the green. He was playing alternate shot with Justin Thomas, and he missed the putt, but it was an amazing shot. That would probably be the highlight. But it's so hard when you look at it. You say an amateur, even a good amateur, is going to spend half the time like in the water. They'd lose a dozen balls in the water. I think I saw like 3 balls go like in the ocean all weekend, if that. I mean, these guys they step up, and there's this narrow little fairway, or there's this one par 3 that's like 4 feet wide, the green, and they would hit it more than half the time. Just amazing, amazing players. And I can't see anything. I mean, the young guys, they're not like Morikawa is young and he's in good shape. and he's just flawless game. Xander Schauffele, same thing. I don't see how these guys don't do it again in 2 years, but we will see. We will see. On to Biden and Mayorkas, because as I said, I lost it on right here in the seat on Friday because the news just broke that Joe Biden blamed the Border Patrol guys on horseback for strapping. That's his word, for strapping Haitian migrants, which by then it had already been debunked. By then, everybody said they didn't do it. The photographer who took the pictures said no one got whipped and defended the Border Patrol guys. It's a lie. But here again, it's one thing to lie. If you're Joe Biden, you do it like falling out of bed, which he probably does that too. It's not a big deal. You tell lies every day. You talk about, corn pop or things your father said when two guys were making out. He said, oh, they just love each other, Joey. I mean, you lie about Hunter. You lie about everything. Little things, big things. You say you drove an 18-wheeler.
Yes.
Say you wanted to
You
work
work for a lumber
yard in Idaho because you're there. I mean, he's a mythomaniac. He just makes stuff up. But this is beyond that. This is beyond despicable. You know that your Border Patrol guys who are trying to control the border, which you put in chaos, you by design created this chaos, created this rush to the border by these Haitians, and another one's coming, but you did it. We all know why. You did it because you want them all to come into America. You want to change the demographic. You want to change the country. You want to fundamentally change the country, to quote your former boss, Barack Obama. So it's your fault that these poor guys are overrun. They're trying to control the border, trying to keep these guys from just running into the country, walking into the country, and they do it on horseback. It's what they do. It's rough terrain. You can't do it in a Jeep or a car or a bike or whatever else, a Segway. So you create the system, you create the situation where these poor guys are trying their best to control the border on horseback. They have reins in their hands, and some lying liberals said, oh, look, they're whipping the Haitians. And of course, all the usual suspects run with it, AOC and Pelosi and Schumer and Ayanna, all the liars in the media and MSNBC and Morning Joe, they all start lying about it. That's one thing. We expect that. But even Joe Biden, I expected better from. Don't ask me why. There's a guy who lied about leaving Afghanistan, who got 13 Marines and soldiers killed, that vaporized the family of 10, including 7 children, and has never apologized or said anything about it. Even Biden should know better than this, to lie about these guys, to lie about these cops. I mean, I understand. Democrats, Biden, they hate cops. There's been a war on cops for a while. But this had been debunked. They didn't whip anybody. They were trying to do their jobs. And this liar says it bothered him so much. And the worst part, Garano, promised to make them pay. So he says there's going to be an investigation, which is fine, investigate. But you say before there's any conclusion, before there's anything been determined in this investigation, you say we're going to make them pay?
Think about the power imbalance there from one Border Patrol officer in the entire federal government. I mean, that's like you are inciting people against this one person. This person's life will never be the same.
It is amazing. If they need make them pay, that means they'll fire them.
Yeah.
And if you know the truth that they weren't doing anything wrong, and you still say we're going to make them pay, then clearly you have an agenda, and clearly nothing's going to stop you from firing this poor guy or the other, a whole bunch. The next day they say we're banning horses. So they've been doing it for 100 years, patrolling the border on horseback for obvious reasons. The Biden regime announces no more horses because of a lie, an image that's made it look, I guess, allowed them to claim they were strapping or whipping the migrants, which they weren't. Can you imagine being the Border Patrol guy or his wife or his boss or his co-op, and they're saying, wait a second, we've been doing this every day, trying our best for years with the horses.
And we're being overrun. I mean, it's like 10 times the amount of people we're normally used to seeing at the border.
Yeah, and another thing Mayorkas is lying about, he said there was 12,000, maybe more. He said he knows there's many, many more. Think of what we're talking about. And I wonder again how many people who support Biden support this. Think of what we're talking about. So these people come from South America. We know they didn't come from Haiti. They come from Central America, South America. They throw their, Chilean IDs or Brazilian IDs in the trash, and they come across the border and say, "Oh yeah, we're from Haiti. There's a lot of earthquakes. Let us in." Not only do we encourage them to come in, they just release them around the country. At least 15,000 Haitians. We don't know where. Well, I assume we'll find out because, and the media is obviously part of this coordinated effort to not really tell you. They didn't even cover the border until the Fox News did, but most of the media didn't cover it until, the Border Patrol adjutant was whipping Haitians. Till then, they didn't even cover it. And now we know at least 15,000 people have just been released in the country. These are illegal aliens. And you know what else? Some have COVID. None of them are vaccinated. The Haitians, the vaccination rate in Haiti is 0.1%. Nobody's vaccinated. Nobody's tested. They're not wearing masks. They're not vaccinated. Here's the one conclusion we can come to. The Biden regime does not care about COVID. Everything they say about the war, the unvaccinated, we got to do this, is a lie. If you cared about COVID, you wouldn't let 15,000 illegal aliens into the country without testing them, without vaccines. So the amazing thing is that guy on the horse, the guy, they're going to make pay, he has to be vaccinated or he gets fired. The people he's trying to stop from coming in the country, they don't have to get vaccinated. That doesn't matter. They don't care about COVID. They don't care about the border. In fact, they don't want any border. They want them all coming in. But I want to listen one more time to Biden because it's just so friggin' infuriating.
Take responsibility. I'm president, but it was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you, those people will pay. They will be an investigation underway now, and there will be consequences. There will be consequences. It's an embarrassment, but it's beyond an embarrassment. It's dangerous. It's wrong. It sends the wrong message around the world. It sends the wrong message at home. It's simply not who we are.
You are a despicable person. You truly are. I cannot believe anybody supports him. He just lied about these Border Patrol guys and said they're going to pay. He said it sends the wrong message. These are illegal aliens overrunning the border. And this poor guy's trying to do his job. And you didn't throw him under the bus. You just threw him under the friggin' steamroller and your next step is going to be destroy. You wait. Tomorrow, we're going to find out this guy's fired. This guy's fired. Because they don't care about they don't care about law and order. They don't care about COVID. They want this border to be overrun. They want people from Haiti to be dispersed all around the country, COVID or no COVID. They don't care. That's just, I'm sorry. There's been a lot of lows with this guy, but that is so disgusting what he did. He said worse things about the Border Patrol than he's ever said about the Taliban.
Yeah, you're probably right, and you can't do that. Like you're just gonna, and anybody they're working a ton of long shift. We've talked about before that there's a listener of the show who's messaged me, but they're working a ton of hours. They're way understaffed. Like I said, there's 10 times more people at the border that they're dealing with than they thought that they were going to have to. They're completely. Imagine the morale when you hear the president of the United States criticize you like that. I mean,
it must be awful. I mean, the morale, they must be so down.
It would be for me. I wouldn't want to work there.
Knowing the guy essentially your boss, not only doesn't have your back, but wants to make you pay for doing your job.
So I got a bunch of
there's at least 2 Afghan refugees, I believe at Fort Bliss, or I'll get it. Are accused of assault on a female U.S. military service member by several male Afghan evacuees at Fort Bliss. This happened the other day, of course, reported by Bill Malugin from Fox News. Several attacked one female soldier, and you'll never hear a word about this from the Biden regime. To him, these are useful immigrants. They resettle, they create the future Democrat voters, so he's okay with it. So this female soldier gets attacked by these people we're giving refugee, giving benefits, giving all the privileges of citizenship to, And nobody cares about her. They care about the poor Haitian migrant who got strapped. It's just that the priorities of just so backwards. And if you thought, you know what, I should give Mayorkas credit for one thing. He told a million lies yesterday with Chris Wallace. It must kill Chris Wallace to have a guy on there that makes Biden look bad. Chris Wallace is the biggest Biden fan out there. I don't think Biden wouldn't get elected. No one worked harder to get Biden elected than Chris Wallace, and now he has Mayorkas on, this HHS secretary, who's another lying sleaze, and he says illegal immigration is one of our, quote, proudest traditions. Do we have that?
Yeah.
Listen to this bizarre. I mean, I know that's what you think, but can you believe he admitted it publicly on camera? Let's listen to Mayorkas.
In the first place, why didn't you build, forgive me, a wall or a fence to stop them from walking in this flood of people coming across the dam? It looks like a highway that allows them to cross the Rio Grande.
It is the policy of this administration. We do not agree with the building of the wall. The law provides that individuals can make a claim for humanitarian relief. That is actually one of our proudest traditions.
Of the 30,000 Haitians.
One of our proudest traditions. They know they're not making legitimate claims because they came through. First of all, they know they're not from Haiti. They came through like 6 other countries.
Yeah.
So if they're really running, from persecution or religious or whatever, they would have stopped in whatever, Guatemala or El Salvador or certainly Mexico and said, give me refuge, I'm under, but they didn't. They come here because, as we talked about the other day,
the benefits, yeah.
The
There's a welfare state.
It's the combination. It's how you destroy a republic. You have both an open border and a welfare state. If you have both of those things, you cannot last. I mean, just imagine the border certainly appears open. The only people who denied entry are, Cubans fleeing Cuba on rafts. Those are people getting sent back.
Where'd that story go?
Because they know that Cubans aren't future Democrat voters for the most part. They're, especially in Florida, they're not going to support the regime. They're not going to support Kamala Harris or whoever runs next. So they have to get sent back. The Haitians they're counting on. And by the way, why is it like, you see Black Lives Matter comes out and like all these Congress people, Maxine Waters and Ayanna Pressley, just because they have, they're Black, they're not African Americans. They're not Americans. Just because they're Black, that they decide to fight for them. If they weren't Black, they wouldn't care about them. It's just so bizarre. This one immutable characteristic. You have dark skin like that. So I'm going to make it my cause to let them all in the country.
Well, it's not even objective either, because like how dark is dark enough? I mean, none of that's objective. Their philosophy is full of crap.
It's just bizarre. Like, we're going to do fight for them because they're not American. They don't, they're not refugees, but we're going to find a way to get them in the country because we have a common skin color. Just a bizarre take. And I don't think a very popular one. This is where, Biden loses those, moderates, those middle of the road. They're looking at it going, wait a second, there were 15,000 immigrants under the bridge 3 days ago. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They sent 300 back to Haiti. And by the way, when they did, one of them was accused of biting the pilot on one of these flights back. I think they had like 10 or 12 flights back to Haiti, and abusing I don't know if they're flight attendants or aides or whatever, abusing the people because they don't want to go back to Haiti. They came here. Joe promised them all the goodies. They came here to live as Americans. They don't want to go back to Haiti. Who the hell would want to go back to Haiti? But their country's a mess, and they think they can just walk across our border, and most of them did. Who's in favor of that? Other than, Ayanna Pressley and other, whatever crazy Robert Reich, crazy radicals. Who's in favor of just having no border? Come on in, sign here, and we'll get you, housing and food and healthcare and education and everything. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to do anything. Just sign here and you're in. How many people are actually in favor of that in America? It's just so destructive. And I realize that's part of the plan. It's by design. We want chaos. We want destruction. But anyway,
You want to do Shay before we move to the next thing?
Oh, sure. Let's do Shay. And then we'll talk. I want to hear what the Border Patrol guy had to say to you. I find this interesting. We got a guy down there on the border, and he's living through this. But first, let me tell you about Shea Concrete. All right, we're going to try to get our Border Patrol buddy on this week, anonymously, of course, because if he ever went on the record, the Biden regime would destroy him, destroy his life, as if they're not doing enough damage. It just seems to me that being a cop anywhere, you might have been a cop like in Chicago or Seattle or Minneapolis now, and knowing that, I mean, they just elected, I think they're going to elect in Washington State an attorney general who's an Antifa supporter. And I mean, these places are being run by total radicals, defund the police radicals who hate cops, who don't want to support cops and help them do their job. But then you have the commander in chief who's throwing the Border Patrol under the bus for doing their jobs and saying he's going to get them. We're going to get you. How do you? I mean, it must be the morale there must be worse than the WEEI. It must just be so brutal. The way these guys show up in the morning knowing that the guy in the White House is working hard to destroy them and help the illegals. I mean, they're trying to stop illegals, and Biden's trying to let them in. It's just, and you know, who's gonna win that showdown? The regime is gonna win that, and the country's gonna lose. But,
right?
Are we gonna? Did you ask him to come on with us, or are you gonna work?
Well, I just sent him a message, but
what was the latest? He said they just.
Well, he said that there's another group of immigrants who are moving through Central America right now that's bigger and heading to the border, and they're bigger than the last group.
And why wouldn't they? Again, it's not. I don't blame any Haitian or any illegal. I mean,
no, you want a better life for yourself and your family for the most part.
Everyone likes free stuff, and if the president's promising you free stuff and you don't get it in Brazil or Chile or wherever they're coming from, why not make the trek? Why not? I mean, they'll put you on a bus or maybe a plane. They'll resettle you. They'll give you a home. They'll give you kids. Your kids will be in a decent school. I mean, you'll get clothes and food. And I mean, I wouldn't want to be, if I'm, Haitian or Central American, get sent to, like Wisconsin right now or Maine.
I'd take Maine.
I mean, for winter,
sure.
The winters, Wisconsin looked pretty good in the Ryder Cup. That looked very pleasant place to be. In about 3 weeks, it's going to be buried in snow, and the lake's going to be frozen, and they're going to be going, can I go back to Haiti?
All right.
Can I go back to Guatemala now? But we'll talk to him hopefully this week and get the latest. But and maybe by then the guy on horseback is fired.
I hope not. I mean, that's not right. It's another Covington situation, and he's just getting dragged. And I don't know. I don't remember when was the Covington? Was that under Trump, right? So the regime did. Yes. No one went after him. I don't remember that.
Did.
The media did, but not the government. But now you got the media after you, and you got the federal government after you. If you're this guy, if you're the Border Patrol officer,
and you're right, it doesn't slow them down, deter them. They've been lying about everything. About Covington. This like another Jussie Smollett every day with these people, and this is another one. They're going to say, "Oh, he was whipping," and there's still tweets up. There's still people in the media. People, on The View saying, "Oh, Border Patrol are whipping." They just know that they advanced that perception that we're abusing people at the border. They know all the usual suspects will go with it, will run with it, and they'll have support. And they can demonize law enforcement and take the side of the law breakers. That's the MO of these people. And it's just wrong. I don't care if you hate Trump. It's funny. Every time, like I said, I tweet about this. It's like, Trump. What about Trump? What about Trump? And I'm going, so Joe Biden, I don't respond, but Joe Biden lies about a cop or a border patrolman, tries to ruin him, threatens him. And somehow it's about Trump and, Trump did this or Trump did that. I mean, when are we going to move on from that?
we should.
That's what I would like.
When he's in office, then you can criticize, but he's not in office right now. Biden's in office, so let's criticize Biden.
I don't want Trump to run. I mean, I know he had a big rally in Georgia, but I just want to move past it. I want Ron DeSantis. I want somebody else to just shine the light on the corruption of these people, and make the case. I mean, as I've said many times, but DeSantis agrees with Trump on all the issues. He just doesn't have all the baggage. He's just a better speaker. He doesn't tweet like crazy stuff. He doesn't have a checkered past. He's got a military record and he's smart. He's 30 years younger. more than 30 years younger. Why wouldn't you want to move on? I realize, people get a kick out of Trump, and he is a good fighter, and he certainly exposed the deep state. And I'd like to have him out there fighting and supporting DeSantis, but he's going to run and ruin everything.
Probably.
He's going to dominate the debates, and it's just going to be like more of the same. I'm ready to move on. But all right, anything else, Karan? Do you want to give me any more info on your big Black Lives Matter rally that you attended?
No, it was just like I said, it was just a cultural event in Portsmouth. It was sponsored by a bunch of different groups. They were one of the groups there. Everybody was friendly. You know how New Hampshire is. New Hampshire's a very polite, like calm, gentle place where a bunch of people can get together and there isn't all that baggage like you'd get in.
Did your wife drag you to this, or did you want to go?
It was new friends of ours that we met at a wedding a few months ago. Super nice people, and they were going, and it was just an excuse for us to hang out together. And I thought, I was like, if I see anything weird, I could take video of it too and bring it for the show. And there was, everything was like super polite and nice.
Was there Black Lives Matter people trying to recruit people?
No, but they did have information. There was pamphlets. They had a booth and all that type of stuff.
Shirts,
I think they had
buttons?
coloring books, maybe. And
really?
Trying to go for the kids. But I mean, why wouldn't you?
Indoctrinate the children.
That's what you do.
Haven't done enough.
I have a problem. Obviously, that organization has got some huge corruption, as we know and as you've talked about. But most organizations do anyway. I mean, I'm not going to just fight the fight in every. I'm
not talking about corruption and BLM. I'm just saying, let's be honest. They literally want to end capitalism.
Yeah, well, most Republicans want to end capitalism too. They like corporatism instead.
This is in their mandate. Now they've taken off their website, but in their mandate was to defund the police, to disrupt the nuclear family, and end capitalism. How can any American
sign me up? Forget it. I'm in. Let's do this.
Just anti-American radicals. It's got nothing to do with race. They want to end capitalism. They're Marxists. The three women that founded the organizations are a devout Marxist.
I'm the most anti-Marxist person you know.
6 houses. Right. So there's no way you could support them. People who support them are just dumb. They say, oh, yeah, what? Don't you think Black Lives Matter? We're talking about the organization.
Yeah, the organization is super corrupt.
BLM
I agree.
is radical, and they don't like cops, and they don't like capitalism. What more do you need to know? But, hey, they got their man in the White House. He's doing their bidding now. Maybe by tomorrow, that Border Patrol guy's life will be ruined.
I hope not.
Which is what they want. And we'll talk to our Border Patrol buddy. Hey, tough weekend for the Bo Sox. Damn shame too.
Oh, did they get swept? I saw they lost the first two. Yesterday.
They got a couple of scrimmages now against the Orioles. They're going to the playoffs, but boy, did they get embarrassed. And I don't know if my buddy Lou Merloni was checking, but most of the fans were from New York.
I saw a clip of the Stanton. Did you see after the Stanton home run? And like the whole stands go up, and it's all New York fans.
After all the Stanton home runs, the place erupted. And
the Grand Slam is what I saw.
Bizarre because
that's not what Fenway looks like.
Normally there's some Yankee fans, but this time there are so many tickets available that the Yankees just gobbled them all up. Yankee fans grabbed them all, and they came out strong and loud. And I know Lou thinks the attendance is pretty good, but sure. But it
reminded me when I was living in the Bay Area, when the Red Sox would come to town, I would go and see them play the A's or the Giants, and it was exactly like going to the Coliseum as the A's stadium.
Yes.
When I would go, it was all Red Sox fans and no Oakland fans. It looked like
that
in
way
Fenway.
In Tampa. I mean, I don't think it is anymore. But it used to be that way in Tampa because a lot of Red Sox fans would make like one road trip and they'd want to go down there or Toronto. But that was the weekend all the Yankee fans showed up, bought tickets, and supported their team, and their team just crushed your Red Sox. Hate to see it. But we shall leave it there. By the way, did we mention the mug, the Bug the Chug mug on Friday or Thursday?
Did you say that? I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but it is available in the store now.
Yes, Carano and intern who helped you with this?
Well,
Graham?
Graham did the design, but I
Graham
did
the design. Carano did the
I don't want to give him all the credit.
And you can check out the Bug the Chug mug, which I just wanted because of the alliteration or the
people
rhyme.
are buying it. So
the Bug the Chug mug is available along with Bug the Chug t-shirts.
Yeah.
And you can find those where? You got to go to our...
Just go to our link tree. It's in all of our profiles, our social profiles, and you'll see the store. And it's very easy to get to when you get to that link tree.
Excellent. Good job, Karana.
Thank you.
And good job, Graham. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching and commenting. and signing up for our locals, our community.
Yeah.
On locals.com. If you're want to check that out, just go to locals.com. You can do it for free if you want, but if you want the
Support the
Friday
show.
and you want to support us and strike out against cancel culture, you can do that by signing up and subscribing to this show, to this community at locals.com. All right, we shall leave it there. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Show with Matt Carano. We'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.